Hi guys, it's Raythe here, and I am going to answer the questions that you asked me. Hopefully I can come up with some interesting answers. So the first one is, have you ever given thought to creating audiobooks for some of the serials that are finished? This actually was something that we did talk about in the last Q&A, but you might have easily missed it because it was part of why aren't we doing Everdark as an audiobook. And the answer to this is a couplefold. One, to get a professional voice actor would be exorbitant. We've mentioned this before, but it's like, depending on the length of the serial, it could be anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000. So that's way out of our price range. The second thing is, as you guys know, to your delight and my chagrin, there are a lot of typos and a lot of things that when I'm reading, for example, Raythe Reign, I am editing on the fly, as Kat knows all too damn well. So it's not like I could just hand this off as is to an audio person and then be able to just read it and it would be fine. The next thing is also the time it takes. I know it must seem like, well, you're just talking to a microphone and then you're basically putting that online. No, that's not how it goes. For Kat to do, I think, one 30-minute episode, it takes 5 hours to get one done. So that kind of time is just sort of beyond our small group because remember, there's only 3 of us. So let's say we would outsource some of this to someone else. Again, there's a large cost to this. So if we were to do audio, and believe me, it's something that I actually do want to do, there would be an additional charge. And we'd have to figure out what that is, whether we'd sell them individually or whether we'd have somebody where you can do an Audio Plus type membership, but there would be an additional charge. We will be polling you guys about how much do you really want something like this? How much would you pay for this? And that kind of thing, because it's a huge investment. And so it would really require a huge amount of interest and pulling the pocketbook out. And I know that's tough for everybody. The next question is, aside from what we mentioned during our conversation about Christian and Everdark, I'm not sure what conversation they mean, but here we go. Do you ever think of having a disabled main character? I am specifically thinking of a character like Daredevil from Marvel Comics who has a disability, but is arguably stronger, smarter, and yes, more capable than most of the characters in the story. I'm aware that proper research into disability lifestyles is a must for any writer behind these stories and that writing such characters may prove challenging. Oh, I know who this is now. Just so you guys know, this is not something that's in the text, but it is something in the background. Christian does have a form of autism. I made it so that was part of his character and how he deals with things. And actually, this particular member picked that up and asked me about it. I do want to actually have characters with various levels of, it's hard to explain this, but you don't want to be ticking boxes. But you do want to be having representation out there and you want them to be a full and well-developed character with me having a great understanding of what that would be like. For example, what if we had a blind character? What if we had a character who was in a wheelchair? What if we had a character who had a mental illness? I think it's a good idea to have more representation out there. It would take a lot of research to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. And we are going to have actually in Empire of Stars, somebody who suffers from tinnitus and migraines. So this is not exactly on the level of a disability, perhaps of someone in a wheelchair, but it is somebody who is dealing with a very disabling condition. And that this is sort of to show, what they're capable of. And yes, they actually get to be better than everyone else because it ends up that this is part of their powers. So yes, I have, and I am looking into it, but I do not do tick the boxes. I do not do, some might call me a social justice warrior because I do believe that there are inequities in the world, but I don't do things to be woke. I do things because that's what the character demands, and that's definitely coming up. Another question is, have you thought about other completed stories being in a private podcast read by you? Well, this is fascinating. It's clear that you guys are enjoying the audio and would really like to hear some more. At least I'm hearing this a lot more. Like we said, it would have to be an additional charge because if we did it in-house, I'm taking Kat off other things I need her to do. And if it's going to someone else, there's a cost to that, and plus a cost to me to have to review it, put it up on the site. It's extremely time consuming. I really want you guys to understand that. It's not me reading into a microphone and it going up, no big deal. No, it's a 5-to-1 ratio. And that's just on getting the stuff mastered. That doesn't include my time of reviewing it for errors. But yes, I am literally thinking of an Audio Plus membership for this. So I guess we're gonna be polling you soon about more what you'd be willing to do here. Someone asks, why only 2 chapters added to Tidebound in a month? The reasons are simple. First, Tidebound is the latest serial, so I would not be taking away from an older serial in order to give more chapters to a newer one, because all the people who, let's say, love Everdark or love Dragon's Reign or love Elven King's Blade, and all this kind of stuff would feel like, why are you taking away something from me? So that's why I'm keeping Tidebound to 2 chapters a month until we have the room, and we will have the room soon. So you will be getting more of Tidebound, and I am so glad that you love my Love Under the Sea question. I am continually in awe of your mind. Ooh, I like this question already. And how you keep multiple stories in rotation. At best, most people can juggle 2 mental things. You are carrying plot lines for 5 stories. Actually, more than that, but hey. How do you do that? Is this just the way you think, or did you have to learn and develop a process? I always go back and reread the last chapter before a series hiatus to be ready for the new chapter a month later. For example, The Fell. Comment. Thank you for writing in particular intimate scenes that you don't make me, a gay man, cringe or think of Cirque du Soleil. It's a hard, pun not intended, or maybe it was, sequence to write. And I think perhaps you could give writing lessons in this genre on this topic. You are fearless and it works so well. Okay, I am like holding this question and comment to my chest and like rolling around happily with it. The question was, how do I basically keep multiple stories in the air? And the truth is, I really think it is partially just how I'm made as a storyteller. I actually need space between chapters in terms of so I can think on something. So for example, I know it must be like, well, you're so involved in The Fell and you're writing The Fell, don't you want to write the next Fell chapter? But sometimes I want to let that marinate and, for a month, for 3 weeks, and then I'll have a more brilliant idea than I would have had if I just written The Fell to the end, for example. And honestly, I do a method form of writing. I get to be the characters. So I am always excited to be a space marine or a vampire or an urban adventurer or, things that I'm not in real life, but would love to be. So truthfully, for me, being able to inhabit all these different characters and all these different worlds actually excites me and, stirs my creativity. But it's also, I've been doing this for 10 years because I can honestly tell you in the beginning, it was, of course, not as easy. But writing is like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It is an art and a craft. So for those of you who are, I would recommend anyone who's writing a story and they are stuck, try writing something else, and going back and forth. Some people can do it, some people can't, but you might find that it gives you some more mental space to clear your thoughts about what should be going on in your first story while you're writing your second. As to the intimate scenes, I am always fearful that I don't want to make them boring. I want to make them really interesting. I've written, hundreds, probably thousands of them by now. But I also think it should be realistic and you shouldn't be in your head trying to do if his leg is over his shoulder and their arm is under, no, because that's not sexy. What's sexy is something as simple as, you have a look that you describe or a touch that you describe or a way that something is thrusting That's what's sexy. It's not a blow by blow description of each and every action taking place. That's what the joy of writing is that you're really just giving, almost like a prompt to someone's imagination. I think that's especially important in lovemaking scenes. I am honored you think I'm so good at it. Thank you so much. So much for that. It's almost a year. When will Date with the Vampire manga come out? It was such a nice and interesting start. Then it all faded away. It was quite tragic since the story was really nice and interesting. I really should not have put up that coming soon. Here's the deal. Of course it's going to come. There's 4 books. It's absolutely, Mathia was working on that, but now I have Mathia working on another project, and I'm going to have Mathia bounce back and forth between the 2 more, but I want to finish this one part of this project, and then Mathia will be going back to Date a Vampire. So it's not going away. Don't worry about that. Soon has obviously become a relative term, so I apologize about that. What's happening with the shipping from the shop to everywhere outside the US? Actually, I am seeing that you can do that now. However, one brave member just in Canada had a variety of things shipped to her, and it took like a month. And I would imagine shipping to places like Scotland, where this member happens to be from, might be even more of a slog. So you can do it, but I do let you know that it's going to cost an arm and a leg, and that honestly, I'm not sure how long it will take to get to you. This bums the hell out of me. But with stuff like this, which is really a sort of like the equivalent of print on demand, they only have facilities right now in the US. And that is why. Basically, they create the product in the US and then they give it to an intermediate shipper who then takes it, their sweet time and all this kind of good stuff. So the issue is not that I don't want to do it. The issue is the infrastructure is not there with the quality that we want. And we're not doing stuff out of China. We don't have the volume. So you basically have to have the volume there to do it. That's the deal. Okay. So the next question this person has is there any way to communicate what you put on Facebook for those of us who loathe, detest, and don't trust it, therefore don't use it? I remember you used to send us heaps of stuff like polls, for example, but I don't see them anymore. Okay, I'm looking at Kat now because she's the poll master. I have to say that we've gotten a lot more response on Facebook for the polls, and that's been why we've been doing that. And the truth is that, it's a much better interface to do it there, and a lot of people are on Facebook. Kat and I will talk about it. We'll see if maybe she can put some up on the site so you guys can have fun. But really, her time, like I said, when she's not editing Raythe Reign, is doing a lot of other stuff. But we'll see what we can do about that, okay? I know that a lot of people don't like Facebook for a lot of reasons, a lot of very valid reasons, but the interface is just really good for interaction. That's what it's there for, unfortunately. After how many weeks can we expect the audiobooks of the Vampires Club after the book's been released? I've been eagerly waiting for book 5 audiobook. So there are 2 issues. One is me and the narrator parted ways. I'm going to talk to the artists out there. So many of you so often want a chance, and it breaks my heart when those who are given a chance really don't realize what they've been given, meaning that they don't act professionally, that they don't take pride in their work, that they do not follow timelines. What I am telling to all the artists out there is that you are only as good as your last job. Let's put it this way. He did not, while he's very talented, he did very bad audio quality, which was causing me to have to spend 15 to 20 hours in edits. Then Audible or ACX takes another 3 to 4 months, and 3 to 4 weeks after that, if it passes the quality check, which a lot of his stuff did not, and therefore was put at the back of the queue. So I cannot tell you the time frame. I try to make it as quick as possible, And I've got someone new in who, in all honesty, is even better than this guy in terms of his voice. He's amazing. And at least on the outset here, looks like he's going to do a lot better job in terms of getting work done in a timely manner and the quality that needs to happen. So I realized the frustration of waiting for the next audiobook. It cuts into how many I sell. I mean, he basically has killed the audio on Vampires Club. And this is another reason why if we were to do the audio of the serials, and we were to outsource any of that, the problem is that you are at the mercy of finding somebody who is qualified and who takes their job as seriously as I do. As that is rarer than you might think. And that is why I really recommend to you, any of you who are doing business or in the arts, please be professional, because trust me on this, you do the work, you get paid, you get a good reputation, and you will be used again and again. You screw someone over and do a bad job, I said that will follow you, and it will just be it's bad. Basically, it's bad. So I apologize about that, but I am sort of at the mercy of these other artists. Question. Do you plan to do any more stories from the Raythe Reign universe, or any more stories about dragon shifters? My God, of course we're going to do more dragon shifters. Dragon shifters are the best. Absolutely about that. The Raythe Reign universe, I don't know. But I think because, we started with, honestly, the ultimate Dragon King, I think it would be sort of a letdown to, go to someone who's just a normal shifter. But then again, it may not be. We'll have to find out. How did you start Raythe Reign? Did you have your first book written and your illustration team, or did you start writing then got an illustrator? Just so everybody knows, I do not have things written in advance. Tonight is supposed to be Elven King's Blade, and it will be Elven King's Blade, but I have not written it. I am writing it based on your feedback, so I can't very well write in advance. When the site started off, I had 5 chapters of, I think, 4 or 5 stories that I did have written to get people into it, but then I was writing in the schedule, just like I'm doing now after that. And as to the illustration team, absolutely. I needed to have illustrations in order to have the site. So I hired Mathia first, T-Wolves second, and a bunch of other artists, and got them started. So yes, I did have to have that started, but the stories were not written. I don't parcel out works like that. I would never feel right about that. If I have something written, for example, like the Vampires Club 6, you get the whole thing, of course. I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh, here's one chapter and here's the next. That's not how we do things here. Why it started, it was more that back in 2009, KDP was sort of that's the Amazon program, was sort of like in its infancy. And truthfully, the only way to get was through stuff like Dream Spinner Press, which has gone down the tubes, my understanding is. I wanted to write what I wanted to write, stuff like The Earl King and the Fell. And The Earl King was one of the first stories on the site, so you can imagine how that would go over. And I didn't want to be at the mercy of anyone else's taste. So that's why. The question is, I was updating my TBR pile on Goodreads when I saw that I'd included The Burn by Raythe Reign in the pile. I was puzzled because I do not recall reading that story and I cannot find it on the website. What gives? That was taken off, I would think, about 6-7 years ago. It was an MF story that I was writing, and we had a vote about whether it would continue, and members said no. They said, well, they enjoyed it. They're here for the MM stories. So that's what gives. That's why it's not on there. I'm really very fond of it. It's not completed. If I do complete it and rework it into a book series, members will get it. Will Dark Magic be starting this year as well, or is that not on the cards at the moment? I keep going back and forth with this. We are going to do Empire of Stars for sure. We are doing Everdark Academy for sure. And I have been going back and forth with what I want to do. On the one hand, I think that Dark Magic would be a lot of fun. On another hand, I feel sort of overwhelmed. Like I need a little bit of a break from the characters to sort of really think about that story. And I also want to do something that's going to be, I think, a ton of fun, which is a choose your own adventure type story where basically like, you're 5 chapters in and you guys get a choice. What do I do? Does the main character, for example, start dating X, or ignore X and go after Y. And it would be a lot of fun, and literally nothing. It's all going to be based on your choices. But I really do want to continue on also, though, with the characters that I love so much that have been with me since the site began. And I know that a lot of people are interested in dark magic, especially since I've been touting it a lot at the end of this fall. We'll see. I will, of course, be doing it just like I did Sanctuary 2, but it took a little while for that to come about. So it might not be this year. It might be next year. Someone said, I always kind of wondered, what does Raythe Reign sound like? First, I was not disappointed. That's good. I'm so glad. I would list expressions denoting pleasing to the ear. When you can hear that the reader themselves enjoys the story, which you wanted to hear is amazing. Second, curious that with one more element, how closer you can feel someone, more real perhaps. I'm getting verbose, aren't I? All this said, I wanted to say thank you for the wonderful stories, the diverse characters, and humongous, splendid, awesome, want to explore more world, which evolves with each and every world you make. Oh, and a question. I hope I am not making you repeat yourself, but really want to know, how did the name Raythe Reign come into existence? Oh my God. Okay, so when I was writing fan fiction, I thought it was going to be really cool to be called Raythe. W-R-A-I-T-H, like ghost. The idea, ghost writer, because obviously I wasn't going by my real name, but that was actually taken because, everyone else wants to be cool too. And so I did the phonetic spelling of R-A-Y-T-H-E. And then I have no idea why I thought it would be a great idea to call this thing Raythe Reign. It is like the stupidest name, and not stupidest. I think it sounds cool and it sounds interesting, but I mean, really, if you were to think in terms of like SEO, shouldn't you be doing something like, gayromance.com or, something like that, which would have been far better than Raythe Reign, because they're like, what is that? I don't understand. But it just happened, and here we are. And let's put it this way. It would be really easy to prove someone was copycatting me if they used that name. So that's sort of how it came about. In a way, it was sort of like, just me trying to be cool and probably not succeeding. Another person said, hey, Raythe, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you going to do the third installment of Tokyo Ghost series? I know it's out. It's not one that all like that much because it wasn't nearly as Yakuza as you wanted, but it's the one I love with all my heart and it's so fun to read. Then again, I do love the new Magic School one coming up. I have a couple of ideas for the Ghost series, one of which continues the story as it is now, one of which delves into another aspect of it. I think it's one of the cooler universes. It sort of got away from me though, in terms of how I wanted it to go. I really wanted it to be more crime boss. And I also had no idea it was really going to become the love quadrangle for the Hong Kong one, which caused a lot of consternation for some people. So if I do another story in it, which I think I will at some point, it won't be for a while. And I love that you love it. There are many people who love many of the stories, like, for example, The Darkening or The Lightless, that have not necessarily been favorites. But they are held close to your heart. And believe me, I understand that. I love this series by Dean Koontz called Fear Nothing. And he has not done the third book in the series in over 25 years. I think I will continue on with it. I do not know when. But I will keep you up to date on that. These were great questions. They always are great questions. If you have more, of course, put them in the comments down below, and I will be happy to answer them. It's clear to me that we need to discuss audio more, and we will get back to you on some of the things that you have brought up and keep you apprised in the weeks and months to come. Anyway, thanks a ton. Take care, and we will talk to you later. Bye.